you know, respect that we have the right to vote, but at the end of the day, I think it's pointless, really. You know,
You think it's totally pointless, huh?
I kind of do.
I don't really disagree. Politics doesn't work. It doesn't. There's major conflict of interest in terms of the way voting happens and who gets in, and it's not about what's right and who, it's who you know and all the rest of it.
If you voted for the guy who's in charge, you have no right to complain about what that person then does.
I don't know. What if he does something completely contrary to what he says he will.
But you put him in. You put him in power.
So what you're saying then is that we should expect that anyone we put in power is a liar and will do whatever he feels like as opposed to what he says he'll do.
The person in charge will do what they want. But they will say what they need to say to get that
Into
leadership
power.
role.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily saying that what they're going to do is bad, but it might not be what they say, and they get in and they go, oh well, I don't know, well this, well we don't really have the money for that, but I can afford 15 grand's worth of curtains for my flat.
This is the problem. There's an incongruity with a lot of it. It's no surprise that politicians. Now, let me be clear. What I'm saying is the politicians at the grassroots level who represent the people in their respective areas, they probably have very good intentions. But as I've said before, the ones at the top, I don't really think many of them care. Anyone who really cares about the people has no power to do anything about it, and anyone who does doesn't give a monkeys. They're too busy looking after themselves and looking after their friends and making sure they line the pockets and all the rest of it of the people who will keep them where they want to be. You're talking about voting. Let's say everyone in the country voted. We've all got different views. We've all got different personalities, walks of life. We come from different walks of life. We have our own views on what should be a priority in life. And just based on that, no one's going to be happy. So if I voted for this person or this party and you're voting for that person, that party, and regardless of who is in the majority and who actually comes to leadership, they won't represent everyone.
Do you think it would just make sense just to pull a name out of the hat?
No. I think that, pulling a name out the hat, would that make sense? No. Why? Because it makes no difference. It doesn't matter what name you pull out of the hat. It's going to be.
But that's fairer.
No, it's not fairer. I don't think. Not quite. It's not fairer because no matter who's in, the issues will be the same. The priority of the government will be the same. Whoever come to power, they're going to be interested in keeping themselves in power, in making themselves fat, making sure that the people who got them there. It's self-interest. This is what I'm basically saying. The government is interested in self-preservation, just like we all are. And because the government is interested in self-preservation as opposed to doing what's right, no one is happy with what the government. No one will be completely happy with what the government does. No one will be completely satisfied with what asserts that it has accomplished and all this good stuff. As opposed to doing what's right, they're going to do what's popular. If the people are making such a fuss and such noise that they can see people are going to get riled up and cause a really big stink, they'll do whatever it takes to quell that. But that's as far as it goes. We will leech off the working man. We will strip him bare, make it so he can't progress at all and keep him where he is. And in the meantime, we'll give him a few pennies here, a little bit of incentive there to make him think that we are helping him and that we're trying to do what's right. They're not interested. The MPs can't be trusted. Every institution needs policing by someone independent. That's what I would say. And the MPs simply can't be trusted to behave responsibly and honourably with the taxpayers' money. Why? Because there's plenty of it from their point of view, and they're not having to sweat for it. So it gets wasted. Murky things start going on. When you hear about they've got their salary but they've got this job on the side, and then you go deeper. They don't just have one house, they have two houses or renting out one and all this stuff. And all the while you got people who are living in their cars, living in their garages and stuff like that. That's where people get pissed, and that's where people have a very negative reaction to the politicians and all this stuff. And you can't there's no wonder as to why. Coalition,
yeah. So at the moment we've got a coalition. Say we had the Tories and Labour. We formed a coalition together, but they were both equal power. What do you think that would be better? Because no? Okay.
No, not really, because as I said, it's to be a leader. There has to be someone who says, I'm taking the decision, we're going to go in this direction. They'd be bogged down in talking and debates and arguments all the time to do anything of real substance. The coalition government that we have, this is quite new to this country. In Europe, they have coalition governments all over. Do you know what I mean? And somehow they work it out, but the problem here is you've got someone as you know, the Tories, and as liberal as the Lib Dems, it don't mix. Office politics within politics. It's not about let's do what's right. It's not about let's do what's best for the majority. It isn't. If it was, we wouldn't have we wouldn't be in the scenarios this country has seen over the last 10, 20 and more years. The politicians talk and they don't do. And the stuff that they have to do to make progress would have them ousted from power quicker than you could say boo. That is why things won't change. That is why things don't change. And that is why anyone who is looking to politics to better the world is an absolute fool. It's not going to happen. And if it was going to happen, why has it not happened already? Why is it we're having people sleeping in their cars? Why is it we're having so much homelessness? Why is it we're having such extremists coming up and feeling so disgruntled? Why is it we're having people who can pick and choose whether or not they want to? Why is life such a struggle if the governments of this world are doing what they're supposed to be doing? Why are people going hungry? All the classic questions. I personally am so sick and tired. I'm sick to death of struggling all the time. I'm sick to death of being broke. I'm sick to death of not having enough money. Aren't the rest of the world sick of struggling? So don't look to the governments. The governments will do nothing. They'll continue to do nothing, and the governments will soon they'll soon become obsolete. They will do, because they're not doing a hell of a lot. And sooner or later, people will wake up to that fact. In the meantime, what I would suggest is and be the best person you can be. Help each other within reason and all that good stuff. Be as charitable as you can. Place, but they're not going to solve the meaning of life. The parties aren't just interested in being supreme nationally speaking. The parties want their country to be supreme in the whole world. There's constant competition. It's not about the people. The people, no working class people, the governments will still be trying to get one over on each other. Politicians talking about our allies here and our allies there. They're not allies. They say they're allies because they don't want to make an enemy out of this next country. China can't stand America. America's not very big on China, but it's about getting that edge. And at the minute, China are starting to build their edge. And as soon as they get that edge, do you really think they're going to be wanting to fuck with America? We'll see. We will see. I don't really think there's much more you can say about that.